Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Small Town Music. It has been a minute. I have been, you all know, if you're listening, you're a music teacher, or at least you have some connection to public school, I'm assuming. So, yeah, spring break happened, and I thought, man, I'm going to be able to record so many cool things. And none of that happened. My kids were sick. We were just dealing with a lot of different things going on. And then I was able to go on a trip to Nashville with my students, which I'm more than happy to talk about and how that went. And then my kids got sick again, and then yeah, life is happening. So I will do my best to keep on a somewhat regular schedule and try to record ahead of time. But if you're a music teacher, you know. So hopefully, if you're listening to this on a drive or you know, doing something hopefully relaxing. Hopefully, you're not having to be stressed out while listening to this. But today, I wanted to talk specifically about subplans and how to prepare your subplans and what to do for band. Because subplans for an English or history or math class is just very different than a music class, whether it's band or elementary general or choir. All three of us can kind of do some very similar things, but it's still even the way that I prepare my band classes versus my elementary general classes for subs is going to be very different because it's a very different class. So, if you want sub plans where your students are going to be playing something, here are some things that I recommend to help you get through that process and to help the sub and help you. I have found if I just tell kids go and practice, then my stuff is messed with. Things are moved around, things are taken, things are not where they're supposed to be. Um, and that just creates kind of chaos in the band room, and I get more notes about kids not being great and not paying attention, which then in turn leads me to yell at kids when they come back, and it's not great, and everyone's unhappy because whether you were gone for a fun reason or not, it's still frustrating to have to come back to a mess. So I have done kind of a practice report style assignment where I've had kids kind of answer specific questions about what did they practice, how did it get better, what techniques did they use to get better, and that can kind of help. I also really like to be able to use kind of practice videos to kind of keep kids on track. I will often have kids I will say record one of the songs that we're doing in class. Like you can skip all the rest, but practice with your group. And then by the end of class, you need to record a video, a complete recording of you playing something, of performing some kind of thing, so that I know that you at least got your instrument out and played something. Because sometimes at practice time, if I have to be gone, a practice on your own session is going to be good and helpful. I really loved Flipgrid, the video recording kind of app website, but it's now completely different and it's not at all what I wanted it to be. So I now kids could upload videos super easily. They could do kind of silly effects, which was nice and fun, but it didn't really alter or affect the video too much. And that was really great for like playing test assessment kind of things. Um, but that is no more. It's unavailable. So I just have kids record a video on their Chromebook, and then we go from there. If you have an app that is available that is like that, then please let me know. I would love to know an alternative to Flipgrid, but I think the best alternative I found is just kids recording a video on their Chromebook and attaching it to their assignment, which I have found that a lot of kids do not know how to attach something to a Google Classroom assignment. Like if it's not like a Google Doc or Google Sheet or whatever, if it's something they have to like physically attach from their files, then that is really difficult for them, and that is hard for kids to do, which is really frustrating. You can also have, if you've reached a point in your career where you have students that you trust to kind of lead the band, then that's an option too. If you kind of prepare them, I know I have colleagues that say they have a drum major and they say, okay, drum major, lead them through pep band tunes. That would be awesome. I currently do not necessarily have that situation. I think With my high school band, I could definitely do that. With seventh and eighth grade band, it would become very chaotic. So it would be interesting to see how that would happen. With my sixth grade band, depends on the day, depends on what else is happening in their life to be able to make that happen. So maybe. But that's kind of something that you would want to prep in advance, which I will talk about prepping your kids for a sub at a later bullet point. I have tried to video myself and then have kids play along with the video. Like I'm kind of pointing out measure numbers. I have a metronome going in the background. That is tricky just because it's never loud enough for them to play along with. You could kind of do practice tracks. A choir, I know practice tracks are great, but it's whether the kids are actually going to use them because they only work if they use them, which is the trick. So if kids use the practice tracks, then great. But if they're not using it, then don't waste your time trying to record yourself and do all that stuff. But it can be helpful, especially like kids that are going to practice no matter what, and kids that are not going to practice are going to make that choice no matter what. You can, if it's kind of down to crunch time, I have called on some local friends who are either former band directors or retired band directors that would be willing to just come in and run a rehearsal. Just say, hey, we're getting ready for contest, we're getting ready for a concert. Can you please come in and just rehearse some music with my kids? Someone that knows how to do band and how to make that all work. Practicing in trust. That's that's kind of what I talked about at the beginning. That like even the best of kids mess with things or just do annoying things. Yeah, we have taco in a bag as one of our fundraisers. I've kind of talked about that before, but kids have taken like the Frito bags and they've eaten it and left trash everywhere, which is really frustrating. Or there's just stuff. Like I come back and there's just like sticks everywhere in the back and trash and water bottles and garbage and it's frustrating. But I get it, especially kind of in a quote unquote emergency situation where you're like you woke up and you're not feeling great and you're like I got to get something quick, then that can be helpful. Um, if you want to do a physical assignment, I recommend this, especially if it's like one day, if it's a Friday, if you know it's a day kids are going to be crazy and they need to like sit down and focus. So this can be helpful to especially really unruly classes where a sub, if you know who's going to be your sub, if you're going to have that luxury, and being able to say, being able to know what that person needs for that class to be successful, that can be very helpful. So I use musictheory.net a lot. It has exercise customizers where you can set very specific parameters for each exercise, and it's a link. It's a unique link. So each kid that opens it, it's like a new exercise for the kid, and it doesn't like save everybody's or open one for every single person, which is really nice. And then kids can they have a code checker so they can like create a report and then send it to you and attach it on Google Classroom. I just tell kids to do a screenshot and attach their score as a screenshot on Google Classroom. And I say, because I mean, you can go forever on that thing, do as many problems. So I say like up to 20 correct problems. So they could get like 20 out of 25. And I tell them like if it's like 20 out of 500, then I know that you're just clicking buttons to get the right answer. So then I'm going to take points off. But if it's like 20 out of 22, I'm still going to give you the points because that just means you messed up a couple times. Um, Google Classroom, I know if you add a YouTube video to an assignment on Google Classroom, that is really helpful because you can add questions to pop up and kids have to answer the questions while they're watching the video. So I really like that feature if I have time to kind of go through and find some YouTube videos and have questions for kids to answer, which I recently tried to do a packet of how it's made videos and then the videos didn't work because they weren't approved and I didn't realize that on the playlist and the videos weren't available and it kind of ended up being a wash. But that can be kind of tricky about using YouTube and worksheets and things like that. Um, those are the main kind of online things that I use. I'll search like music theory games. Chrome Music Lab is a fun one that kids can do. Um, that is really easy to tell kids like, hey, just pick a couple and do them, or you can find specific ones. I find that trying to just explain it in words is really not helpful for a lot of kids. So I will often do like a screen recording of me going through and like, okay, this is how you do it. So there's kind of like no excuse for kids to be able to do their work. Um, there is a like band lesson share website that has a bunch of like um, online lessons that kids can or you can use for your kid. There's like Google Forms and there's videos and there's like I get a bunch of stuff up there, especially when we have like a million snow days. So there's like a listening journal one. My students really like that. Like I try to pick music that's different. It's not necessarily just classical music or like Percy Granger or whatever. But I used Nickel Creek, one of my favorite bands, or I found like a really cool modern brass quintet. That's an all female brass quintet, and so I was able to kind of showcase them. And the kids really enjoyed that. They really liked listening to the music and kind of going through, and that was a really thoughtful way to listen to music. And so I enjoyed that and appreciated that. Um, so yeah, physical worksheets and packets, like an actual piece of paper they have to have a pencil for, which I know it's 2025. Why would I even suggest that? But a lot of times, because kids, they get on the Chromebook and they don't do anything. And if I want to even have a chance for a kid to try to do their homework, then I want it on a piece of paper. And I also have, I don't know how many of you listening maybe run into this, or if you're a college student or someone preparing to be a music teacher but has not yet crossed the threshold into being the full-time band director. There's a lot of kids that they either, for whatever reason, either they lost their Chromebook or like I have a lot of kids that just like never have it. And in band class, we do not use our Chromebooks very often. Um, so this can be kind of tricky, but I also have kids that are not allowed to have Chromebooks, that they have to have paper assignments for various reasons. So for that, I will try to create alternative assignments, or I just make a paper assignment for everybody because then it's easier on me and I don't have to keep track of multiple different assignments. Um, the physical worksheets and packets are really nice for that. We also run into an issue, and I think this is happening more and more, where our subs are canceling morning of, or they're not able to physically get a sub, so they often have to combine classes and put them in kind of a large common space. And so in that instance, I have packets available so that the kids are busy the whole time. Whatever they get done, I count it. I kind of look through and like, okay, were you just like going through like I'll put like a crossword puzzle or like a little maze or something. I'll try to find like kind of fun activities for kids to do in there, but I also I put like note name worksheets and piano note key worksheets and things like that so that they can learn some things but also kind of do some fun games too. And so then I can kind of see like, okay, what did we spend our time on? And some kids do it, some kids don't, some kids try really hard. I mean, you know the drill. So that's kind of nice if they have to be in a situation where their substitute is in charge of like four classes at once and it's a little crazy. Um, and especially like middle school, like my middle school band is at the very end of the day. So that's really tough for kids mentally, and they're just done. And band is the fun class, and so they're usually ready to like do something different, and having to sit down and do a packet is can be tricky. So another thing that I have not personally used, but I know is very popular, is a sub tub, like a physical tub. And I think this is more for elementary, where you may have like folders with worksheets and packets. You can have crayons and coloring pages. You can have some instruments and activities. It's just a very specific, like, hey, if you're the sub, here's some things to do with this class that will make today successful. And maybe they'll get like actually a meaningful music activity out of it too, which would be really nice. It can also be a metaphorical tub. Like I have a lot of things like in my bag of tricks that I can pull out. But I have like physical folders of worksheets kind of organized by like, okay, these are high school worksheets, these are middle school, these are beginning band, these are elementary. Here's some coloring pages, here's some worksheets just for everybody to do, like, so that way people people can have access to that. Um, I use Music Play Online. We're using it a lot right now. It has a bunch of great resources. So if you need, it has, I mean, videos and games and just songs and song stories and notations and different culture, like music from different cultures and all kinds of different stuff. So that can be really great for kids. But it also, you can essentially have a sub playlist. Like I have playlists of like 20 different videos of activities for kids to do. So for elementary, that's great because the sub can just keep clicking on to the next video. So I recommend Music Play Online. It does cost, it's a subscription fee. I think a lot of people have used that. It's just a great tool to be able to use to help supplement your day to day classroom, but also for sub time that kids can do music activities and sing and play and dance and learn, and not just have to like, okay, here's another movie, like we're gonna watch another movie, kids. Okay, so when subs cancel and kids are kind of stuck, I kind of talked some about this. Try to communicate with your office staff and kind of get an idea of what they expect. So I this is learned through trial and error, and at your school it's going to be different. Um, you may be in a situation where you are able to um, I just totally lost it. Where teachers are able to volunteer, like if they volunteer their prep time, they can like get paid during their prep time to go watch another class. And so maybe that's how you get it covered. In that instance, I may still give worksheets and packets because having, a poor, unsuspecting math teacher go run band class can be really frustrating and difficult. Um, but I know we're just in a weird situation, so I kind of keep a track if I can, if I'm physically able to. I will try to keep track of my email and be aware of like, oh, okay, it looks like kids are gonna be, stuck in an in the commons today, so that means I really need some worksheets for them to do so they're not going to drive our front of office staff insane. Um, and also just kind of get an idea from your principal of what's expected and even ask like, hey, if a sub cancels a job and my plans are completely ruined because it's not just a Google Classroom assignment every time, what do we do? How do we make this work? And so they can help you, and I think they would be happy to help you, hopefully. If not, as we, or at least I say, maybe it's time to look for another job. Um, but it is very helpful that I can email things to our front of office staff, and they're very good about, they're very kind and very good and able to print stuff out, and they are wonderful. And my butt has been saved many times because they are fantastic people, and I just want to put that out there. Um, yeah, so these are kind of my sub things. When I have yet to do this. Every single year I think about this, and every single year by the time August comes, I forget about it and get bogged down by concert prep. But I will. I'm making it happen this year. At the beginning of the year, before you kind of start getting sick or before your sick days start kicking in or you've got conferences or whatever, try to make, and you can just do this with, hopefully you can do this with just your younger groups and your older groups. Like if you have high school, they won't necessarily need to do this, but with elementary or beginning band, establish Google Classroom assignments and do like meaningful assignments. Don't just make them like fluff, whatever assignments, but assign a bunch of assignments at the beginning of the year and kind of establish like this is to essentially teach kids how to use Google Classroom. So how do they open up a Google Doc and start typing in it? I was surprised. I asked third graders to do that a while ago, and they're like, what do you mean Google Doc? I don't understand what you're talking about. I was like, oh, we've never had to do that before. Okay, great. So let's talk about how to open a Google Doc. And a couple kids knew, but kids don't necessarily know how to figure that out. When I was a young student, I remember thinking like, oh man, technology's getting crazier. Like these kids are gonna be way ahead of me. And it's weird, they're not. They know how to do apps and they know how to do like TikTok edits and cell phone video and things like that, but they don't really know how to do like a Word document and attaching files to an email and like what's a PDF versus a Word, a docx or a JPEG or an MP3. Like they don't really fully comprehend that. And that's kind of surprising to me. I know, unfortunately, at our school, we don't have computer class. Like I remember in elementary doing computer class and we did typing and Mavis Beacon and, all the different things, but they taught us how to use computers. And that was really valuable still. And I feel like for me, I just click around on buttons and I kind of know what buttons to press and what buttons to not press because I know enough about computers. But anyway, all that to say, if you want, like, if you're going to be out at some point, whether it's for professional development or because you're sick or you need a mental health day, please take a mental health day. But um, try to teach your kids how to do assignments on Google Classroom and what that is going to look like for you. So, are you going to always use musictheory.net? Are you going to always use a worksheet packet? Are you going to always have, you know, YouTube videos, do a variety of assignments, have, you know, do a listening journal with them and go through it, but then the next one they do it on their own, and have all these different types of assignments so that they know how to do it, and then also teaching them how to use the resources. A lot of kids, I did a piano note key assignment, and I included a picture of a piano like piano keyboard with the note names labeled on each key, and they still were like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I'm like, man, it's the answers are right there. And at that point, I don't know, like I can't help people that don't want to be helped. But yeah, this is what I have for subs. I've had to take a lot of sick days this year, between myself being sick, my kids being sick, daycare illnesses, all that fun stuff. So Laura will be back. We've been working on our podcast studio. This is not it. This is just a different location that's a little bit easier and better for me to kind of record in. But keep her in your thoughts. Keep sending her good vibes. They're still kind of dealing with some health stuff currently. Everyone's okay. Everyone is going to be okay. But yeah, if you want to email us, we are smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail.com. We are on TikTok at smalltownmusic, YouTube smalltownmusic21, Instagram small.townmusic. Yeah, we YouTube, Spotify, Apple, PodBean. So find us and connect with us, and I hope you say hi. So have a great week, and I will be recording another episode soon.